but also because I've got an official announcement. So I've put my jacket on especially, although if the truth be known, I am actually wearing my track pants on the bottom, which I do tend to do when I work from home, especially on a Friday, casual Friday. But I've put my jacket on, I've got this official announcement, and it's exciting because it's been a while that I've been thinking about this, and now the time feels right. And that's that I'm writing my third book. Now, it's been 18 months since Like a Girl was launched, and I always feel that that was my second book, and I always find that after I've written a book, I tend to not want to go there again for a very long time. It's a big project, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of time that you spend on your own. Now, as an introvert, I enjoy that. I enjoy the solitude, I enjoy writing, but I also find you can have too much of that. It's balance, regardless of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. We tend to need a balance of both, of that being by ourselves, that solitude, that reflection time, but also then that being out, being with people, connecting, talking. And so I've done a lot of that over the last 18 months. I was talking to someone yesterday and saying, like, writing a book is a bit like getting a tattoo. You forget how painful it is, and then a year comes by and you're like, oh, okay, maybe we'll do that again. That's a good idea. Let's do that again. That's where I'm at the moment. So very early days, words on a page, but it's a project that I've started. It's a project that I've now planned out for the next kind of 3 to 6 months to make some real headway in. So looking at a release date of next year in 2020, more to come on that. But it's a real change for me in terms of what I do business-wise then as well, because rather than that outward-facing, a lot of speaking, a lot of events, the stuff that has taken up most of 2019, it'll be a lot more inward-facing, turning inwards. And as I said before, that balance is so critical in that space, because I find that I love going out and connecting with people. I love the events that I run. I love meeting you all. And it also gives me ideas. It kind of spurs my creativity. So when the time feels right to then do that inward facing reflection, writing, being by myself a bit more, I've got all these ideas and stuff that creativity has brought to put pen to paper. So that's what's going to be happening over the next few months. So I'm excited about that. I get the opportunity to hone my procrastination skills a little bit more when I'm writing. And yeah, start to put some of these ideas down on paper, and hopefully what will result next year in book number 3. It's interesting though when we talk about balance, the yin, the yang, you know, getting time by yourself versus time out in the external world, and having a bit of both. Also though, I notice for me, there's always another project. I've talked this week about this striving and never quite arriving. And a book is one of these things where you start, and it might take a long time, but you get a product at the end, you get to arrive. And quite often, when we're doing what we're doing, particularly if we're high achievers, if we're driven by the need to achieve, we find that we're constantly working towards something. And then when we get there, we move the goalposts and we work towards something else, or we make that bigger, better. And I talked this week about this concept of striving without ever arriving. If we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to celebrate our success, to take that time to reflect on the journey and how far we've come, we might find ourselves in this position where we are constantly striving, but never feel like we're arriving. And this impacts our feeling of success or our sense of achievement. And it's something that I talk about quite a lot with Imposter Syndrome, because Imposter Syndrome has this, this waving away of our achievements and this inability to internalize our success. When you look at the way we strive and don't arrive, that plays into this concept as well. Because if we are constantly striving for the next thing, if we've always got goals on the horizon, but we never feel like we meet those goals, we don't therefore feel like we're a success. And I know this is something that resonates for me hugely. I'm always thinking, well, I haven't done that yet, I need to do this, and there's always more, the next project, the next thing, the next book. And it's really important for people like us to take that time to reflect on our successes, because if we're constantly striving and never arriving, we'll feel like we don't have any successes. And of course, when we take that time to reflect, we see all the things that we've done and how far we've come. And it's healthy to have drive, it's healthy to have ambition, but not at the expense of always striving, not if we're moving the goalposts on ourselves and not actually feeling like we've ever arrived. So taking that time to reflect and taking that time to look back on the stuff we've achieved is really important. And that's something that I'll be doing next week. So on Sunday I fly to Byron Bay, for a yoga retreat. It's not for business, it's for pleasure, although it was the place 5 years ago where I did my yoga teacher training, so it's really nice to be going back. And it's also quite exciting that I get to spend a little bit of winter in Australia, where even though it's winter and it's cold for the Aussies, when you come from Wellington, it's actually quite warm. So it'll be 20 degrees or above, which for me is also a real draw card of going. Taking some time to reflect, taking some time out, and also just taking some time to reconnect with me, to be by the beach, to just not be doing so much, to just spend some time being. And that's important too, particularly when we're on this journey of striving, never quite arriving, but always pushing for the next thing. That's healthy, it's what makes us successful, it's how we get stuff done, but we also need to balance that with the reflection of, look at what we've achieved, look at how far we've come, because then we feel like we're arriving in the process of striving for our goals as well. So I hope you have a fabulous weekend. We've got a couple of things coming up before I go away. So I fly out on Sunday. There's an Imposter Syndrome workshop on Saturday afternoon, New Zealand time. That's free. It's a webinar. I'll put the link in this live so you can sign up if you haven't done so already. An ideal opportunity if you haven't yet been to one of the workshops to get a flavour for what is it all about? How do I know if I've got imposter syndrome? What does it look like? What do I do about it? Some practical tools and techniques for you to take away. And we have then got the last public workshop in Wellington on the 7th of September for imposter syndrome. We're spending a whole morning together looking at that. There's still a few places left on that if you want to come along. And then next month we move into Mental Health Awareness Week in September in New Zealand. And so this is something, I'm going to be launching a Thrive Challenge, so a 5-day challenge to help you thrive at life. And we'll be looking at things like resilience, mindset, mindfulness, how to remain calm, even amid the craziness and the busyness, and how we balance that busyness and overcome our overwhelm. So stay tuned for that next month. There's also going to be some new coaching programs launched next month, so plenty of stuff still to do, plenty of striving. But for now, I'm going to allow myself to arrive, to reflect on the successes that have happened so far this year, and to enjoy a week off. And I'll be back in touch later next week. Enjoy your weekend.